Hi, this is my second video on PMP 2021 new exam content and format. I am going to today briefly talk about the content and format again, but for today, the focus is going to be on the lesson learned or experience sharing from the people who have passed their PMP exam in the past couple of weeks. In the end, I am going to bring some suggestions and recommendations for you to study and what material to use to pass the PMP exam. So before we get into the presentation, let me introduce myself. I am Faisal Shafiq with over 20 years of project and program management experience. I currently work and live in Alberta, Canada. Okay, let's go on to the presentation. And I am going to share my screen with you now. And we'll start with the new exam content as I have talked about it in my previous video as well. So we'll briefly skim through a few of these things. So 180 questions, 5 pre-test questions. That means 175 questions will be scored out of 180. 230 minutes to complete the exam in total, and then there are 10 minutes breaks. You can take a 10-minute break after 60 questions, and that is optional if you would want to continue or want to take a break. And then as according to PMI, the 50% of the questions will be around agile and hybrid, and 50% around predictive or the traditional project management exam. We can now look at some of the domains for new exam, and I provided those links in this video as well. You can find them, and I'll provide the link of my earlier video as well. So there are 3 domains now. Earlier, the exam was around 5 process groups. Now there are 3 domains: people, process, and business environment. And you can clearly see the percent distribution of questions, like 42% of the questions are going to come from people domain, 50% from the process domain, and business environment, there will be 8% questions. So that's how it is going to be looking like in terms of the examination. Let's go and discuss in detail some of the common themes or the lesson learned that I gathered through various channels, through the participants who have passed their exams, and they have shared those lesson learned. So around 70 to 80% of the questions on agile topics, although we know that PMI did say that the number of questions would be 50, but in terms of the experience sharing of folks though who have passed the exam, currently it's sitting as more than 70% relating to agile topic questions, so area to focus on for you guys. So then understand Scrum and agile framework. Since the exam is now agile heavy, it becomes more important, or it's important than ever to focus on and understand Scrum and agile framework. Then there was also a recommendation to understand Lean Six Sigma. Very few math questions, but it doesn't mean that you don't have to do the formula question, but you have to understand and know SPI, CPI, EV, EMV. There were a few questions around those. Although the participants said that no, they did not use calculator because they did not have to. Their questions were simple enough to figure out without the calculator. There were scenario-based questions. Some of the knowledge areas that were more focused for communication, resource, risk, procurement, conflict management, and stakeholders. So things to consider here, and look at these knowledge areas carefully. Focus on project documents also is to study those project documents, like example, project management plan, the project charter, the stakeholder analysis, etc. So understand those documents. And then there were questions around project leadership and virtual teams as well. Some of the other common themes, in addition to what I've already talked about, many questions were in the multiple choice formats. So it's just the formats that has changed. You know, like in the earlier PMP exam, there were only questions around multiple choice, but the responses now are different. And I have some examples that I'll share with you as well. For example, drag and drop the best option to its corresponding box. This is one example. Then another example, choose the best 3 answers. So I've provided you with some of the prototype question examples from PMI website for the PMP exam that they have provided in the exam content online. You will find that link in this video as well. So you can click that, or you can search up at the PMI website. And again, reminding you that the exam content guideline is the most important document to understand what is going to be coming on the exam. So this question is a drag and drop option where you can easily drag and drop. So left side, you can see there are processes. On the right side, there are process groups. And in between both, there is a fill in the blank. So you have to drag one option from the processes and bring to the filling the blanks. So the next option is, or the next question is another prototype at the PMI website that is called hotspot question, where you will be asked to interact with the digital graph and use their calculations to estimate specific data point. Another example here, again, a hotspot question where they have a risk register, and candidates will be asked to, again, interact with the digital graph and use the calculation to to provide some specific details. You can see that on the left, there is a box, and then the information can be filled up in that box. So these are some of the example of how what type of formats or questions would be coming on the exam, and how the questions are going to be presented. So the common themes, again, continue on those. Prepare to understand how predictive process groups related to the Scrum sprint cycle. So this is important to understand how the predictive process group will be relating to the Scrum sprint cycle. Questions in the people domain are still very traditional PMP, but bundled in the agile scenario. Another point to note, there are a few terms that were identified by the participant that you should go through. Tuckman's 5-stage of team development, like the one norming forming, if you remember that. So backlog grooming, refinement, sprint ceremonies, retrospectives, reviews. So these are some of the terms that people have recommended you should go through while preparing for the exams. In the future, I'll bring more terms and the concept that we do understand in my future videos as well. Let's keep moving. So there are a few things that, in my opinion, I'm recommending that you should consider and you should understand. For the exam, you picture yourself either as a Scrum Master, a product owner, a problem solver, or an agile coach, or a PM operating an agile and or hybrid space. So for those of you who already are in the Scrum Master roles, have done some certification, are agile coach or agile PMs, they understand that. But for those of you who are new to these concepts, you really need to understand those concepts and then picture yourself as part of those roles, and then try to understand those roles, and then imagine and put yourself as part of that role in order to understand those scenario-based questions, right? So this is very important to note here. Understand well how hybrid projects and agile transformations work for organizations who have traditionally been predictive. For those of you who have been working in the predictive environment, traditional PM, you need to understand how the hybrid model work, how agile transformation work. This is also very important for the exam. People would ask me several times, are we going to study IT2Os and 49 process? Yes, absolutely. These are not going away anywhere. You need to understand them. Again, I keep telling people, you don't need to memorize, but understand how they work. And then wait for another few weeks, in my opinion, to schedule your exam until more information from the new exam taker is available and you're more confident and comfortable that you have a grip on the exam. For those of you who already have studied the old PM methods and the content, and they currently work in the agile environment as well, they probably would be ready than the others little earlier. But still, like, I would suggest to wait for another few weeks before making any decision. If you require, look for one-on-one mentoring support from someone you know from your workplace, or you can hire someone who can guide you, help you through the journey of passing your PMP exam. The best way is to join PMP and Agile study groups. There are several on Facebook and LinkedIn. Join some, go in there, contribute, comment, ask questions so that you can learn from there, as well as you can gather information of what to study. Let's move forward about the study material and preparation. One question that I have been asked so many times, and I've replied to so many people on that, is it PMBOK 6 still valid? Yes, of course, it is still valid. The PMBOK 6 guide, you have to use that guide for the current exam content, unless we hear otherwise from the PMP. I'm not sure when PMBOK 7 is coming out, so don't worry about that. Focus on PMBOK 6. Then the next book is, or guide rather, is the Agile Practice Guide. So this should be your new friend. So you should be studying this Agile Practice Guide. So if you are a PMI member, you can download both the PMBOK 6 guide and then the Agile guide from PMI website when you log into it. Or if you would want to order a hard copy, you can get it from like Amazon, right? Then the other thing you need to understand is the PMP exam content outline. This is very important. The PMP exam, the PMP exam content guideline, I provided the link in this video as well. This is very, very important to understand what it contains. It contains all the details, what content is going to be covered in the exam. So very important to go through it. In addition to that, there is another exam, PMP exam content crossover map that is provided by PMP. You should be going through the details through that document as well, in order to understand what is new and how these domains link with with each other. So I have provided the link for that as well. Then the study material, you have to study the Scrum guide, exam simulator, or free questions, whatever work for you. Exam simulator, if you would want to have a paid one. Most of them are now upgraded or updated rather for 2021 exam. Scrum guide, I said, is very, very important. If you go to the Scrum guide, scrum.org website, you can download that Scrum guide free of cost. So the link is provided in this video as well. A good prep book is also recommended. So if you use, let's say, Rita's book, Joseph Philip book, or whatever book you like, you can use that prep book as a supporting document to help you prep. So I've been asked a few times by people, if I have Rita 9th edition and 10th is already out, what should we do? Just keep reading 9th and then fill the gaps through other sources. Probably, that's my opinion, not to invest too much. on those books, but look for a upgraded exam simulator or the free question that can help you fill those gaps. So that was all about for today's video that I wanted to bring to you guys. So if you have any further questions, feel free to comment here on this video or send me an email. I will be happy to answer. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. Also press the bell icon